Hi guys, today we're going to be making this card featuring Peaceful Dragonfly from the Stamp Doctor. All of the dies and stamps are available from her shop. I will put a link in the description box below. So to start, I use the A2 layers combo dies. These are perfect for making your layers. I take the guesswork out of the sizing. So I started with the 5 1/4 or 5.5 by 4 1/4, and then I went a size down to make my first mat. Then I used, this next one. This one is 3.5 by 4 3/4. So then the next one I used was the 3.5 by 4 3/4. So I'm going to put those aside. Okay. Other dies I have used for this card, I will show. Okay. So next up, I took Lawn Fawn ink in grape jelly, and I lightly inked the edges with a sponge dauber. You could really pick any color, however, I really like some of the kind of the purples in some of these papers that we're going to be using. If you can kind of see, we've got some purples in here. I just really kind of like that that tone, so I did ink my papers. So first up, we're just going to mount our layers, stack our layers. Okay. Like so. Okay, so there's my layers. And if you hear any kind of funny noises, dogs are sleeping in the room. My older one snores. Younger one barks. But so there's my layers. Okay. Next up, I took the layered nested ovals dies, and I have cut 3. My original prototype, I only did 2. However, I kind of like the way that the black looks behind with the black stripe. So I've got my 3 layers. They're going to go in the middle here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and mount. Go ahead and put these 2 together. About like so. Okay. Now my sentiment, I'm going to ink up. And you can really use any ink. In this case, for this card, for this one, I'm just using Craft & Kimmy Stamps black ink, just because it's what I have out here. So I'm going to line up my stamp. I'm going to press down. You could get out your stamp positioner. It's just easier to me. I like to stamp and then I like to cut out and then stamp. And it could be a little bit darker, but I'm okay with that. So I'm going to set That's the beauty of a stamp positioner. So there's pieces for beginnings of our card. Next up, we're going to take the zigzag border dies. These are so awesome. You just have your normal zigzag. And then you have your zigzag and stitched. And then the third one is just going to be stitched, but this one's not going to cut. So what I did is I took another one of my papers. I chose to use kind of like a bright fuchsia pink. And I've cut my edges. And then I also took a piece of this striped paper and I've cut it smaller. And I've also cut with my dies because I want a border. So what I'm going to do, and the reason I have it a little bit off, and you'll see, I want to line up my peaks and my valleys. So I kept it longer than my card will be so that I can line up my peaks and my valleys. So, as you can see, so then I'm just going to move my layers combos aside. I'm just going to take my paper trimmer. And I'm going to start by just cutting one of my edges. I left it longer because I knew that I wanted to do that, but I also then want to trim it down for my card. So now that both of my edges have matched up, now I can make sure, and sure enough, I'm just right at my 4 1/4 for my belly. I kind of refer to this, if you're scrapbook or if you do any kind of mini albums, this just kind of reminds me of a belly band. If we didn't have the foam that we're going to use behind it, it'd be like a belly band. You could slide something in behind it. So next, we are going to take one of my absolute favorite things from the Stamp Doctor, and that is my 3D foam. I think this is $3. I'll put a link in the description box below to all of the products used. But it's really awesome. It's great for making shaker dies or shaker cards, but it's also great to give you the dimension that foam tape gives. My prototype, I just used foam tape, and you can kind of see there's dimension, but there's not going to be as much as when we use the foam tape or the foam, the 3D foam. So what I'm going to do, and I've already cut myself a strip, I am just going to mark kind of a spot for myself. And then I'm just going to take my adhesive and as you can see, kind of the difference. See how much thicker my 3D foam from the Stamp Doctor is than just a foam tape. It's going to give me a lot better dimension, which is what I want for this card. And then I'm going to gently lay it down, about like so. So there's the beginnings of my card. Next, I do have my oval. We'll go ahead and put it down, and then we're going to get to our dragonflies. So we're just going to place it. So there's the start. Now we want to color our dragonflies. Now the stamp set, you're going to get 4. Let's see if I have a piece, something I can put behind this. you're going to get 4 dragonflies, and you're going to get 2 dies. The reason you get 2 is because you can flip the die and you can stamp the other way. Now these are solid dies, so the way I did it is I die cut, then I put it in my little tiny bit of adhesive in my stamp positioner, and I stamped it, I lined it up and I stamped it. So they are solid dies, and you're just going to take any kind of piercer, poker, and you're just going to gently release them from the die, and then you can stamp. So we are going to color with Copics. These are the colors we're going to be using today, and this, I don't have it in the chow, so this is, see if I can get this to VO1. So I've got my 2 dragonflies. So I'm just going to I'm going to start with my RV19. Let's zoom in here. And I'm just going to gently come in here. Yep, the older dog he's snoring. Time change is rough. So I'm just going to take my darker, and I'm going to come in here like that. And then instead of me going to my lighter of my pink, I'm going to go to my V12. So I'm going to go to my V12, and I'm going to come in, and I'm going to kind of blend it out. We can always go back in with some of our colors. Which we will in a minute, but I kind of wanted to see where I wanted some of my color. So next we'll come in with our, see if I can get that to focus, RV17. And we're going to come back towards the bottom. And then we're going to come in with our V15. See if we can get that. We're going to just kind of start at the base. Kind of want like a pink fuchsia type effect. Okay. And then if we wanted to, we can come back with our RV19 just a little. And then we will come back in with VO1. Oops, wrong tip. Come back in with our lightest VO1 just to give a little bit. Okay. For our dragonfly body, we're just going to come in with N5. And I'm just going to kind of do the bottom of the dragonfly. Now, typically I just would have a piece of paper under my die, but right here I'm just going to use this plastic since I had it out from my card. Okay, so we're going to use N5, or N5, and then N3. And there's our body of our first one. Then our second one, we're going to just go with pink. So we're going to come back to our RV19. And we're going to, see if I can zoom in just a little bit more. We're going to come back, RV19. like so. Then we're going to come in with our RV17. I'm just going to lightly blend that out. Then we're going to introduce RV13 into the mix. I don't know why my camera is not quite wanting to focus very good tonight, but we're going to come in here. And don't worry, it's not going to be quite that bright once we play with our colors. So we're going to come in with that. Now, I haven't introduced my last color, V17, which is my darkest purple. I'm just going to just barely come in here. And then I'm going to come back in with my V01. And kind of blend that out. So now my pink isn't quite as stark. My bright, bright pink. Okay. And lastly, I'm going to come back in on my Dragonfly body. Now you could really use any color for your Dragonfly body or anything else. These are just the colors that I thought went really good with my card. So now I have my dragonflies. So there's my one. And there's my other. So now I'm going to zoom back out a little bit. Now I already have just a little bit of adhesive on the back from when I did my stamp positioning. And I'm going to add just a little bit more. And I like this one kind of coming at it from this way. And I like this one coming at it from this way. So we're just going to go ahead and adhere them down. Now if you didn't stamp it quite as dark as you want, you could come back in. This is just a Copic multi-liner. I feel like there are no accidents in cards. There are no mistakes. Stuff can always be fixed. Okay. This is just a Copic multi-liner, but you could use any kind of black pen or marker. Next, we're going to take the Nuvo Glimmer, or Aqua Shimmer Glitter Gloss pen. We're just going to add a little bit of sparkle to our dragonflies. To our wings, about like so. So let's see. You can see the sparkle. And lastly, what I did to my card, and this is something you can do, you don't have to do. Let's see. Place him up a little bit. Let's see here. I tend not to put, kind of a tip, I tend not to put too much adhesive onto my dragonflies until I get them quite where I want them. Because then I can play with them a little bit without damaging my card. So we can come in about like that. Okay, so I think I like that.